Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Google Antigravity had kind of a rough launch. People were really excited about the new IDE in the beginning, but after a couple of days, the bug reports started trickling in. There were reports of Gemini 3 just sort of looping and not being able to actually fix problems. There were reports about files being corrupted and not fixed. There was even a user who let Antigravity run in turbo mode, which is the equivalent of do anything you want, you have full permission, and it erased his D drive. Now, luckily, that user did have a full backup, but that's not great. So why haven't I just given up on Antigravity and called it a day? I have definitely walked away from multiple other tools because there's 3 specific things that Antigravity does better than any other tool that I use. Additionally, I found a couple of workarounds that sort of help smooth out the bugs. So today I'm going to take a look at those features that make Antigravity worth a second look, especially if you're a beginner coder or if you're just kind of dabbling and vibe coding. Let's go take a look. So when you first open Antigravity, it looks really familiar if you've ever used Cursor or VS Code. You generally would come in, open a folder or open a workspace that you've already used, maybe clone a repo and get started. But the first feature that I really love about Antigravity is the ability to do a quick prototype without the cognitive cost of starting a project. You can just open the agent manager and then you just come down here and say use playground. This lets you just prototype or start a quick idea about anything with 0 cognitive cost. You don't need to create a directory. You don't need to do a git init. You don't need to think about the structure of what you're working in. You can just come in here and say, hey, I have an idea. Let's just try it out real quick. In my case, I just want to see if it can create a 3D snow globe. Maybe put in like a reindeer or a snowman and have it snow. Shake it around a little bit and give it kind of a 3D look. This is perfect for somebody like me who sometimes I don't exactly know what I'm asking for or even what's possible. And I just kind of want to see something on the screen before I maybe nail down the details or figure out what else I want to do. So basically the entry cost is 0. I don't have to think about it. I can just come in and ask it to do something for me. But if you get to a point in your project where you're starting to think, I think I kind of want to hang on to this, I want to make this real, there is an exit ramp, and we'll get back to that. The second thing that Antigravity does that I really love is these interactive artifacts. Every major step that it completes, it creates what they call an artifact, and you can always come back and view those. So in this case, it starts out by creating a task list. And anytime you see this view button, you can come in and view the artifact that it's created. The thing that's really cool about these is at any point you can make comments in these documents and they are interactive. I'll get to that in just a second. Because probably my favorite feature of Antigravity is the built-in browser. Once you install the Antigravity extension to your Chrome browser, Antigravity can use the browser to test your project. If you want to see it, you can click on the little browser button and it opens your browser. You can see in this case, this is my mostly finished product. I did hit a few snags along the way, so let's take a look at those and how I overcame them. So remember those artifacts? One of the coolest things is when Antigravity is running the browser and testing, it will take a screen record of its testing. And then it saves it so you can play it back and see what it was looking at. In this case, it basically told me, okay, we're done. I created the glass globe. I've got a snowman and there's snow. It's done. So I went in and viewed it because this is what I was seeing on the browser and this is what it was seeing. So this is one of those cases where, yeah, it's still a little bit buggy. So I told it a couple of times, the screen is blank. I'm not seeing anything. And it was clear that Gemini just kind of kept doing the same thing. It wasn't fixing the problem. So this is one of the other features that's not unique to Antigravity, but I feel like that really points us in the direction that they're trying to go. It doesn't look like they're trying to make this just an IDE for Gemini. They're trying to make this an IDE for use, because one of the things you can do is come down here and select a couple of different models, including Claude Opus 4.5 Thinking. That's currently the highest performing Claude coding model, and it's pretty fantastic. So basically what I did is I came in here and I switched over to Claude Opus 4 and I said, the screen still shows nothing, literally no text, no snowman. And I let Claude go to work. And we can take a look at that artifact and you can see, oh man, is that better? So if you're working in Antigravity and Gemini is just not quite able to fix the problem that you're looking at, try switching over to another model. Specifically, I think that the Claude models tend to do a little bit better in bug fixing troubleshooting. It's really nice that they give us access to a couple of other models because each model has its strengths and its weaknesses. So it's nice to be able to switch back and forth still within the same tool. All right, so this is my snow globe as it stands, which is really pretty impressive, but I feel like it's a snow globe. I should be able to shake it up and have the snow kind of move around a little bit. So I'm gonna go back into that implementation plan and I am gonna add a comment and say, since it's a snow globe, when I shake the globe, I want the snow to kind of move around like a snow globe would. I can add that comment and then down here, I can just submit it and that will start making the change for me. So to me, the fact that these artifacts both exist and that they're interactive, I think that's really cool. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, okay, that's a lot better. Okay, that now to me, that's a snow globe. Okay, so to address some of the problems that users were having, I think specifically probably because of the person that lost their entire D drive, they have added a safe mode. If you go up here into settings, there is a secure mode. You can turn that on. And basically this means you have to okay everything that the agent does. So if you're interested in playing with this, but you're just a little bit nervous about what it might do to your hard drive, just go in and turn that on, and then you can really follow it step by step. I imagine this would get a little bit tedious, but I love that they've added it if you're nervous, but you do want to try this out. The other thing that they've added is if you're now a paid subscriber of a Google subscription, they've now incorporated that subscription access into Antigravity, and they've way upped the token limits for users under a paid plan. A lot of people early on were mentioning that they would use this tool for like 20 minutes of really hardcore coding and then run out of tokens and it reset after like a week. So they had a really long time to wait and no way to bump up their token allowance. But now since they've integrated the subscription model in there, you now can go get a subscription and they've got a 5-hour reset window, much like Codex and Claude Code has. So they've really both expanded the token allowance for paid subscribers and also given you a slight reprieve if you do run into that limit. All right, so I promised you an exit ramp. This snow globe is pretty cute. It's at a spot where I think maybe I want to hang on to this for a little while. So how do I move this out of the playground and into a real workspace of its own? They've given us this move button up here. We want to move a playground to a folder. And then you've got a project. It's just that simple. And now we let Antigravity test it just to make sure it still works. Oh, yes. Beautiful. All right, Gemini definitely has some faults, but it's not all bad. It really can do a lot if you know the key areas to focus in on. All right, so clearly, even during the filming of this video, I ran into a few more Gemini bugs. But even with those problems, I still really want to come back to Antigravity. The things that it does well, it just does so well. I can just come in and ask it to start doing something and everything is built right in. If I start something in Claude Code or Codex, I need to create the directory, then I need to go install dependencies, open another terminal, or start a dev server. fire up the browser, and go test everything manually. I love that Antigravity has everything built right in. So I can just say, go build me a thing, and it starts the dev server. It opens the browser. Everything is just up and running, and I don't have to think about it. Sometimes the barrier to entry to even starting a project actually stops me before I get started, especially when it's something I don't have fully figured out in my head. I love Antigravity for just a lightweight, get something up and running proof of concept to see if it helps expand my thinking about what the possibilities are. Am I going to use Antigravity 100% of the time for 100% of the things I need to do? No, definitely not. But I don't even do that now with Claude Code or Codex. If I'm running Claude Code in a terminal, I generally have a cursor window open too. The cursor window is great for editing files. Claude Code is great at what it does. Each piece is a tool in the toolbox, and Antigravity is no different. If I'm putting a piece of furniture together, I'm not using a hammer for everything. I have maybe a hammer and a screwdriver, probably 2 different screwdrivers. This is no different. I'm going to have Antigravity as one of the tools in my toolbox and use it for the thing that it does well. All right, so I hope that convinced you to give Antigravity a try, or maybe a second try if you've used it in the past and didn't quite like what it did for you. Maybe think about giving it a second look. If you do try it, come back and let me know how it went for you, and if you have any little tips to offer as workarounds to anybody else out there. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.